when I'm able to laugh at myself, stop taking myself so seriously, and really lean into finding joy and presence in the moment, that's when I feel like I get into the flow state. The flow state is one of my favorite places to be. And any work that you do and any activity that you're doing, there becomes a moment where things click. That things become so easy where it feels like you don't even have to think about what comes next. You're really just going with the flow. That flow state is where I found some of the most creativity. It's where I found some of the most inspiration. It's where I've made some of my best friends and lifetime friends as well. In my life, I've tried a lot of new hobbies. I've tried a lot of different career paths, and I've tried many new things. But the one thing that makes it always worth it is adopting a beginner's mindset. So why is it so hard to get into that flow state, and what can we do to lean into the flow state just a little bit more? Hello, welcome back to my channel, Vegan Sunny. I've been vegan for 9 years, and one of the reasons why I was able to go vegan was adopting a beginner's mindset, not taking it too seriously, not being too hard on myself. And throughout all of my journey, I love to share recipes, tips, and tricks on how to stay centered and balanced, how to activate and channel our energy towards the life that we want to live, and ultimately how to be the best self that we can be for ourselves and the planet and the future of the planet. Let's dive into what does it mean to enter the flow state and how can we get there. I have spent so much time trying and not enough time being. And what I mean by that is when you are internalizing other people's expectations, when you are internalizing other people's goals, benchmarks, or goalposts, when you are allowing your life to be led for you instead of leading your own life, you become dependent on external validation because you're not going to get that sense of fulfillment internally by following your life path in a way that's most authentic to yourself. I found myself really struggling with the questions of, do I want to do what feels good for me and aligned with my spirit, or do I want to do what's going to make me the most money? I've struggled with the questions of, do I want to hyper specialize in some area of education, or do I want to learn a bunch of things about lots of different topics? And that's something that I feel like is really important to the human experience, is being able to take an interest in something new and being okay with never getting past the beginner stage. I know that all of us want to push ourselves to be the best we can be, whether we're taking on hobbies in drawing or making music or doing pottery or other hobbies in writing or making clothing and fashion or creating YouTube videos. A lot of us always are thinking we want to be the best. If you're anything like me, you've put a lot of pressure on yourself to be the best. And obviously that is not a reliable benchmark to try to meet because that is so subjective and it puts too much pressure on the end result instead of the process. And I really believe that in order to get into the flow state and stay in the flow state, you have to be completely content with following the process instead of projecting into the future what you want to happen or what you fear may happen. So an example of this, I was working in a fundraising job where I was working 10 to 12-hour days every single day, and I kept feeling like once I raise a certain amount of money, I'm going to be appreciated at my job, I'm going to be validated in all of the work that I bring to the table, and they're going to let me take the next step, which is moving into a different role that's less focused on working with individuals and fundraising and more focused on broad solutions. And I love systems change, I love analyzing systems, and I love being able to direct and ideate and create new solutions that can be amazing for people on the planet. But ultimately, my hyper specialization in one area locked me into that one area for a very long time. I got very good at it, and I noticed that people who were more of a beginner mindset in that area were able to transition more towards other roles, like the kinds of roles that I wanted, because they weren't as needed in that one role. And you can get into these really toxic patterns of doing work that is beneficial for an employer or a significant other or another person's end game, but not your own end game. And What do I mean by in-game? Where you want to direct your time, your energy, your focus to become the person who you dream of being, who you want to be on this earth. We have very limited time on this planet. We have this lifetime that we need to make the most of, and so many of us are spending a lot of our time and energy into fulfilling someone else's dreams. And it's really hard to get into the flow state, and it's really hard to stay in the flow state if you're not working towards your own goals in a way that feels meaningful to you. And so one of my challenges that I challenge myself with, that I want to challenge you with, is this 5-day flow state challenge. It's really identifying what drives you, what motivates you, what makes you want to get out of bed and work, even on the days where people don't want to work and you just don't really feel like doing anything. What's the one thing that could give you that little spark of interest where you'd want to actually put more time and energy in, even if you didn't have to? Those are the things that we identify, address, and really dive into in the 5-day flow state challenge. If you want to join me in this challenge, you can join my free community on School. It's linked in the video description, called the Plant Powered Path. There are a ton of awesome challenges to level up, make sure that we're staying in the flow state, we're staying in alignment with ourselves and who we want to be, and we're embracing that beginner's mindset. And remember, there are so many people who will say that better is making a certain kind of progress, but sometimes getting better might just mean being kinder to yourself. It might mean having some realization about who you are and what your core self needs in this lifetime. You might take up some kind of hobby or some activity that you don't necessarily become an expert at, but it leads you towards friendships and relationships and new experiences and explorations into your own inner depths. And this is something that I think we all need to lean into that flow state. And I hope that you're able to reach that flow with me. Thank you so much for watching. Let me know in the comments, what do you do to get into that flow state? What does a flow state mean to you? And don't forget to like this video, subscribe to my channel, and I'll see you next time.